My name's Martin Smith, I'm 64. I was born in Greenwich Hospital. Had quite an hard time as a child. I had asthma, quite a weak baby. And then went to Roger Manwood School in Brockley. And then my first job at 14, I pulled the heavy stools in at Lewisham. There wasn't no tractor then, great big slabs of metal with a little trail, and you pulled them in. And from then on I carried on, and I started to get a bad chest and drink. And one day I passed a martial arts academy, karate, and I went in, started martial arts. I couldn't skip for about 2 or 3 seconds. And then I just got more and more into martial arts, more into firearms. And I got bullied a lot at school. That's why I got into it, because I was dyslexic. So I used to get beat up and slapped around the face and whatever. No one sort of understood dyslexic then, not like now. And then one day I see an advert. I tried to start a little business at Catford, and I see an advert one day for a protection officer in Wales with the Miss World, ex-SAS were doing a Miss World course for protection officers. So I drove up there, paid me money and went on the course, and I passed. And I was offered then, one day I was in a gym boxing, because I got into boxing, all forms of martial arts. Someone asked me to work in nightclubs. The first job was in the Marlow rooms at Sidcup. I was a bit green at the time. And then carried on training, people training me how to work in nightclubs. I got stronger and stronger, run, press-ups, training. And then I got offered a job in protection, and my first job was in Edton Gardens in London. It was a chief of police. He had just got married with his bride, and my idea was to look after him. That was what the idea was, what they told me it was. So I was trained in that as well by ex-CID. And the lot of police there from the Wapping riots, I believe. So that was involved. One day I see Richard Branson walk past. He wanted to know what was going on. I was very green at the time, but a lot of the soldiers, a lot of the police taught me. They were kind. I carried on training, so I trained a lot. And then what I would do was I'd come down from protection officer, go into South East London and start working in the nightclubs. So I had to really be fit to do all this, and I was getting stronger and stronger. And I just got more and more involved in martial arts, and 7/7 happened, where the aircraft hit the towers, and my friend Paul Phillips from High Tension, we decided to set a programme up. We asked a lot of people about on an aircraft what we should do. And at the time I started training in Splitsna, Russian self-defence, Israeli Mossad, anything I could learn, I'd learn. And I was quite a specialist in blunt edge weapons, knives and stuff, which I was involved in, and tried to use real knives. So I got involved in all that, and we started a programme. I made a film called Do or Die Survival in the Sky, and I wrote a little book. I couldn't get an aircraft. We tried, and the police pulled us and said, you terrorists. We're not terrorists, we're just trying to make a film. In the end, I found DC-11 in a breaker's yard, and we filmed it. And the film was made, Do or Die Survival in the Sky. And then a load of aircraft companies, Jamaican aircraft, were interested, but the litigation laws didn't like what we was doing. It wasn't really any violence, it was how to stop a grenade, how to stop people with a newspaper, blanket, all forms of stuff on an aircraft, so which I learnt myself, because no one really wanted to tell me what was going on with anything, so everything I learnt myself. In between that, I was in South East London in all the clubs working. Sometimes it was violent, sometimes it weren't. I tried to be fair. I didn't want to be anyone. I tried to stand in the corner away from everyone. But obviously met a lot of people over the 25 years working in nightclubs, and seen a lot of violence, a lot of the way human beings behave. It was quite interesting. Some of it I didn't like. The violence started to send me a little bit mad, which it does. But I never liked drugs. Never took drugs. Wasn't a thing that I was interested in, because I knew one day I had 2 daughters. I'd have to tell them that I sold drugs. I just didn't want to do that. I worked in a lot of different nightclubs in the South East London. I knew a lot of people. a lot of the travelling community, and they were really nice to me. I just spoke to people with respect, got respect back. It was good. Yeah. Well, not a lot to say about that side of things. And then I went on. One day I was sitting in my front room. I couldn't read and write, and I pressed a button and went on Google, and I could find out that I could write. So I've started to write poetry. I've got a book out called Cosmo and Friends Say Planet Earth, which we're releasing. Will I Am, done a film shoot with it. There's a lot of poetry there about the real life. Yeah, there's probably a lot more, but I think let's talk about it. I worked for Boris Berezovsky, one of the head Russian oligarchs who was killed. I was involved with the poisoning, and the Saudi government. I was involved with them, their children, looking after them in the Gulf War. There's some things that I don't really want to talk about because that's their private life, really. I think I'll let them keep to their private lives. Quite an involved life, really, for someone who's dyslexic and weak at school. So, you know, you could probably do anything if you put your mind to it, because I've done it. My first job at the Marlow Rooms, I had a doorman named Mark who see me in the gym boxing, and I sort of, what it was, I didn't really know what I was doing, because there's no one to really teach you properly in them days. They say they can teach you to be a doorman. But I walked up to these people, I didn't look them in the face, asked them to leave, they told me to F off. So Mark explained to me if I really wanted the money, then, you know, I've got to speak up. So I started to speak up, and slowly, you know, older doormen in the era sort of give me little tips what to do and what not to do, because I was never a strong person. I had to make myself strong. So that was quite a hard thing. But the training, so I was never a big person, but I made sure, because I wasn't a big built person, I was very fit. But and I got very involved with Thai boxing. Used to teach people Thai boxing, and got really too involved with it all, really. And terrorism and all sorts of things. I trained myself, but other people trained me from around the world. When there was a course going, I'd get on it and learn it. So the early days were quite hard, really, because I was very green. Yeah, the earlier days, like, really, I wasn't strong. I didn't really know what I was doing, because, like, when you're young, confidence, you know, you haven't got much confidence when you're young, especially being dyslexic and all, because, you know, some of the jobs, you know, so I had to make my way in life, because I knew no one was going to do anything for me, so I had to do it myself, which I'm hoping now, the book I've written, Cosmo and Friends Say Planet Earth, to do with the environment, and really I'm not pushing people to do the environment, we're just discussing it, just try and make, you know, get away from that violent era into sort of a nicer area for people and kids and things, really, that more interest me. Yeah, I was in Paris in Avenue Foch working for the Saudi government, and one of the guys with me got his camera out on the runway and taking pictures of the planes, because the Saudis' planes are unbelievable, all done up, millions of pounds, and the French police shouted to put his camera down. They didn't know it was a camera because there was a long distance, and we had to go on the ground because they all pulled the guns out on us, because they were quite unsure what was going on. It was the time of the Gulf War, and really the children were the Deputy Governor of Riyadh, so they were a target. So that was quite uncomfortable. And also with Boris, Putin wanted to kill Boris. There were 12 of them they wanted to kill, and Boris was one of them. So that was quite, you know, we had dog protection teams around us, you know, St George's Hill. It was quite hard, you know. I used to run all the house, make sure all the gates were shut, talk through the radios, make sure everything was set up right, really. It's quite a bit, I don't know, because I trained so hard, it never really bothered me. But I met a lot of good guys, a lot of army guys. I wasn't in the army, but I trained myself. You know, there was a lot of good people out there. If you're not too big-headed, you're not too bossy, a lot of people want to help you.
Yeah. So what would you say is your proudest achievement?
Getting through life, really, without going to prison, I suppose. And I suppose the second achievement is doing this book that I'm dyslexic, and starting this Screaming Voice platform up with all poetry, films, books, which, you know, I suppose really is my second achievement. But getting through life can be hard sometimes, especially especially in them days when I was dyslexic, because no one was really interested. I'd done a course when I was really young, a motor technician, and the second course I sort of got slung out of college. No one was interested. You was a nothing, really. So a nothing, you have to be something to get a living. So you have to make yourself something. You know, you can't keep moaning. You've got to get on with it.
So what made you interested in like art or like?
You know, I don't actually know. I put the Google on, but as a child, I wanted to be in films. But because in them days, I was 14, I had to go to work. My father was quite, like, in them days, you were dependent, you had to go to work. I had to, you know. So I didn't really, I've got O-level in drama, but that's all I ever got. And I did want to be in films, but the problem is I just couldn't be in them because I had to get a living. And like everyone knows, what I call street people, you've got to get a living. You can't not have a living, you've got bills to pay. So that's really why I ended up not getting into films and being an actor, really.
You said that you're in a movie, right?
No,
You made a movie.
I made a movie called Do or Die Surviving the Sky, which was about defence on an aircraft, which I made myself with a friend, Paul Phillips, who was in high tension, and some people from the gym. I had a Thai boxing gym called Cobra Thai boxing gym, and I had the security company called Cobra Defence. And it never really worked. 2 years we done the Do or Die Surviving the Sky, and it was really good. I don't think anyone else ever done it. And litigation laws, I was told you're not to use it, blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't anything, it was just a defence, self-defence. But, you know, either I was cockney and I suppose they thought, you know, what does he know? So I don't really know, really, what happened there. But we spent a long time. The book came out, the film came out.
About your book, what is your book about and why did you make it?
What I wanted to do is I don't think that you should tell human beings what to do. But I think when you get older, like discussing things of people how they think in life rather than telling people what to do, which is to me is a no-no. You can't tell people what to do. Human beings, you don't tell them. It's about that the Cosmo sees a black ring round the sun and it decides to come down to Earth to help and save planet Earth. The robot and the alien, Adam and Robbie the robot. And that's the story, really goes on. And then the second one is about the beach, saving the beach, environmental. The third one's about the floods up north. That's the book about that and what they do for that. The fourth one's about space junk. And the fifth one's about the Antarctic melting and trees being cut down and all sorts of things like that in the rainforest. So they're the ones at the moment. I've also got a vampire book out called Master of the Night, which is a different vampire book. Also, Paul's building a Mercedes, one off Mercedes SS. For that, the book's writ, just needs to be published, or maybe someone wants to make a film of that. There's poetry, there's all sorts of things I've got writ and ready to go, you know, if there's interest. Because I suppose I was dyslexic and I was weak, I suppose really my mind wants to prove, I suppose I had a thing that I wanted to prove something, but it wasn't a big-headed thing, I just wanted to I wanted to be able to breathe. Because I was drinking, I got a temper because I couldn't breathe and dyslexic. And I'm not, you know, when you're young, you're dyslexic, people don't understand, you know, you've got your mind, the human brain is very strong. And I tapped into it and I didn't want to be that person, which actually happened to me. I was told by a psychiatrist that I incentured someone else and I was someone else. I wanted to be stronger, better, faster, which I did. I used to run, non-stop running, push-ups, press-ups, boxing, training, and I made myself stronger and better. The only problem is, when you work in a violent society, it can make you a little bit violent, and which you don't realise as a human being. So, you know, I never hurt anyone. I've never pulled knives out or anything like that. People have pulled knives out on me. I did get stabbed here in the side. I don't know, because I trained so hard, I wasn't really scared of anything or anyone, really. You know, it didn't really bother me. I came out of Stars nightclub and a guy had gone to the door, I had a friend, I won't say people's names, and then he got cut across with a machete, and then I ended up outside and the guy tried to stab me, I tried to block it, and he caught me with the side, it slipped at me and it caught me in the side, but in a book called I'm called Bulletproof, because I was probably one of the first to wear a bulletproof vest on the doors. In them days, I don't think you could get a bulletproof vest, but I managed to get one and have it on. And I got stabbed, and I chased the guy down the road. I lost my temper with him, chased him down the road. He got in the cab, and the rest is history, really. And when I came in, a guy named Michael Ross, who's not with us anymore, he called me upstairs and shouted at me and said, you know, the cab driver's come to the door, cab was a bit smashed and that, and you've got to pay for it. So I said to him, we better take it out of my wages then. So I was always tried to be fair. Did have a little bit of a temper on me though, which I'm not happy with. I wasn't, but things happen. What can you do? But you know, some human beings. Sometimes it's hard being a man because men, you know, you're against men, so it's quite a hard thing, really. Because you're dealing with violence all the time, you don't know no different, so you want to survive. And the first time in a nightclub, I didn't want to be there. But when they gave me the money, and I went home to my daughters, my wife, and they liked the money, what do? I'm dyslexic, I need the money, I'm pushed into something I don't really want to do. So I ended up going back a third time, a fourth time, and 25 years later, I suppose it became a way of life, as well as other things, protection. I mean, I'm still in nightclub doors in South East London. No, really, I worked in Thamesmead Waves. That was quite a hard one because I didn't really want to stay there. That was quite a bad fights and stuff in there. There was a lot of violence, a lot of fights. I worked in, that was another hard time. I worked in Eltham, in the Walton's bar. That was quite a lot of glassings in there, a lot of violence. I mean, I didn't know no different really. I was so involved with it all. I didn't, you know, I was never a bully though. Never a bully, you know, never bullied people. But, you know, you had to behave, and that's the way it was. But I was fair. I tried to be a little bit kind and be fair to people, but sometimes you couldn't because human beings, sometimes you can't be fair. I worked in an old place, I forgot what it was called now, Fusions was the old Flamingo place in Woolwich. There was quite some celebrities in there, like gangsters and different people. I was okay, but I knew I'd got to an age, it wasn't for me anymore really. Didn't bottle, but I didn't bottle, never bottled, but there was some things happened there, and I knew that really I wasn't the same person. You know, I just wasn't the same person. So when it shut down, I didn't leave, it shut down, and then I left, and then I didn't really work in that game again. And that was 25 years really. As well as surveillance, I've done surveillance for different companies, all sorts of different things really, you know, so. But I must say now, I work for some of the richest people in the world. Money does not make you happy. Some little things, I know you're not going to believe this, some little things make you happy. And when you get older, you'll realise that from being a young person to an older person. You know, money helps, don't get me wrong, you've got to have money to live, pay your bills. But when you get older, you know, there's a different form of happiness.
And, okay, let's tune into that a little bit more. So, working for rich people, how was that? And why did that make you feel like, you know, like your C's about money? Like,
because I was in George's Hill in an £8 million house. I was sitting at one end, the telly was right at the other end, and the telly was massive. I just didn't feel comfortable. I pulled the chair up to the telly and started watching it, and I thought to myself, I might as well be in a little small house. And I watched like the way life was lived, the cars, all the aggravation and everything. And what I found was these people had everything. There was nothing left. Like, for instance, you know, some men on their own had every woman you could think of because of the money. There wasn't interest of anything anymore. The interest had gone out of everything you could think of when you've got that much money. You know, do you know what I mean? It's like people who killed themselves. I don't understand why they killed themselves. There's a lot. You could go out and do some good. Go down and help. You know, go to hospice and help some people. You know, do something to make, you know, worthwhile. If you're that fed up with life, do you know what I mean? There's other things, you know.
yeah.
But the internet, I mean, the internet's a good thing. It's helped me with my books. But some of it, to me, you're in control of your life, not the internet ain't in control, you're in control of your life. So if you're going to let the internet tell you what to do, then there's something wrong. You need to control your life. You are responsible for your life.
And is that something what you've learned throughout your life?
Yeah, I've learned in my life. You know, you've got to get up in the morning, you've got to go to work, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. You know, and some I've met, you know, I've met some gang members and I tell them, either go to work, do 2 or 3 jobs, or go to prison, make your mind up. And I think going to work and getting 2 jobs is better than going to prison. That's what I think anyway. I worked in France.
Yes.
Yeah, I worked in France for a while, yeah. Avenue Foch is in Paris.
Okay, so how was that?
Yeah, it was okay. Paris was all right. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. The children were out there for the Deputy Governor of Riyadh. Looked after the children, went to the theme parks, pretended they were just children. I was a teacher, went undercover. Yeah, that was quite interesting. That just made sure the children were safe. Then we'd come back home, security the house. Then another load of security would take over the house, and then you'd go and get your kip and some food and that was it.
Like for you in your own shoes, like how did it feel to be undercover in your own shoes?
Well, what you have to do is to get the mindset that every movement another human being's making, you need to know about. But not only what they're doing, you need to know all your surroundings. So, and you know what I mean? It could be an old woman coming up to them. That might not be an old woman. That might be someone dressed up as an old woman, or anything can happen. So you can never say that's never going to happen. And how I've kept myself safe is, you know, I never panicked, but I always expected something, you know, that wasn't right. So, you know, and also done a lot of pursuit driving as well. That's another form of security I've done as well. So that's quite another, you know, skill to the arsenal. It's the ability to switch on. You can't be lazy. You've got to switch on, and you've got to know surrounding, you know. And you've got.
Had like a bad experience for it.
I was in the Trocadero, and a little boy, they grabbed his hand. Someone grabbed his hand. And I didn't know if he was a kidnap, and there was a little balcony, and I just pushed him over. I pushed him over onto the stairs. They fell down the stairs, and I just got the boy. I was only with the one boy at the time. We got out of the Trocadero in London. Got out of that straight away. Get out of it. You know, you're not there to fight everyone. Get the person, the VIP, out of it as quick as possible. That's what you're there for. Protect them. Yeah. You know, you're not there to fight everybody. If you've got to fight, you've got to fight. If you haven't, you haven't. Get them out of it. Yeah. You know.
And do you think that scares you for the age you are right now? Do you think it scares? You still have that kind of show?
No, I'm a different person. I don't know what happens to you, but I'm not got that in me. That person is not there no more. There might be a little bit of it, but that person's gone. He's not there. More things make you happy. You're a different mindset. My daughters have grown up. I don't need to fight for money. You know, I've got a little bit. I'm happy to sit and have a cup of coffee, chat with people. It's a different sort of thing, really. It's you know, and the older you get, you know, I'm lucky. I've been across America a couple of times. I've met biker gangs out there. I've been involved with a lot of different things to find out about life. I've always been respectful, though. That's why I'm still sitting here, I suppose. If you're respectful to another human being, but not let them think you're weak, then you'll survive, really. And you know, I've never been a bully, so I'm okay, really, I suppose. I suppose I can talk about Boris. He's not here no more. Boris Berezovsky was an elite for Russia. He was involved with Putin and that. And one day we was in St George's Hill, and he came out and said he could hear a noise, people speaking. And I said to him, "Sir, it's the dog people." And he said, "No." So he got a little bit paranoid, obviously, you know, which I suppose you would. I had to calm him down or whatever. And then when Levinko poisoning, what happened that night, they probably was meant to get Boris, not Levinko. They was meant to get Boris, I suppose, with the tea, the plutonium, whatever. That night, I was left on my own with the boss in bed. I'm not saying too much, but a lot of people disappeared. I was left on my own with 2 dog handlers and 2 Belgian Malinois attack dogs, and we walked all round, and I calmed them all down. I said, "You'll be all right." There's other stuff, but I don't really want to go into it too much, really. But nothing's as you think it is. So what's in your mind ain't really what you think's going to happen. You know, I had to take control of the situation. The boss has nearly been killed. He's in bed. Everyone's left him in the house. You know, and the phone ain't answering, and no one really wants to know too much. But then it's plutonium, I suppose. People scared the life out of people. That's really, I don't want to say any more than that, really. Yeah. You know. I see myself now more relaxed and doing my books and the writing. Also like playing with old cars in my garage because it keeps my mind set nicely. And obviously got grandkids, so your whole mindset of life changes. I'd like to get my book going, obviously. I'd like to get Master of the Night, the vampire film. People have read my stuff, they like it. My poetry's quite good because it's about today. It's about, you know, the stabbings on the street, all forms of life, not just, you know, normal life, you know, the other side of life as well. So people seem interested in that. I really would just like to get my book going and all my stuff going, really. And I don't know if I can help, if I can talk to young people and, you know, tell them anything, or if I could help them, I would help them. But, you know, some people need to learn for themselves and learn the hard way, which ain't really a good way sometimes. So, you know. But when you're young, did anyone listen to you?